On September 16, 2025, the heart of America was rocked by a weather event, unlike anything residents expected this late in the summer. A scorching afternoon across Arkansas, Nebraska, and Missouri gave way to chaos as the skies unleashed a rare and destructive hailstorm. In a matter of minutes, hailstones the size of ping-pong balls shattered car windows, ripped through rooftops, and blanketed highways, forcing drivers to a standstill. Torrential rain quickly followed, flooding low-lying neighborhoods and overwhelming drainage systems. From Little Rock to Omaha, from Kansas City to St. Louis, communities were caught completely off guard. What unfolded wasn't just another passing thunderstorm. It was a dramatic reminder that extreme weather doesn't follow the calendar anymore. As residents scrambled for safety, one thing became clear. These storms are hitting harder, faster, and at times we least expect. The question is, are we ready for the next one? By late afternoon, on September 16, 2025, the storm system had fully matured, and its impacts swept across 3 states with terrifying speed. Arkansas was the first to be hit. In Little Rock, the thermometer still read 90.88 when the sky suddenly darkened. Within minutes, hailstones ranging from marbles to nearly 2 inches across pummeled rooftops, shattered windshields, and shredded crops. Rain fell so fast that nearly half an inch accumulated in less than an hour, turning intersections into rivers. One man attempting to cross a low-water crossing was swept away, later confirmed as the state's first fatality of the storm. Farther north in Nebraska, the damage was even more severe. In Omaha and Lincoln, residents reported hail the size of ping-pong balls slamming against windows for nearly 30 minutes. Streets filled with water as rainfall topped 1.2 inches, while hotel guests were evacuated after shattered glass left dozens of rooms uninhabitable. More than 200 emergency calls poured in within just 2 hours. By evening, Missouri felt the full force. Kansas City and St. Louis endured relentless thunder winds up to 70 millibars and hail that left cars dented like golf balls. Outdoor events were abruptly canceled. Schools announced closures, and thousands sheltered indoors as the storm raged on. As the storm carved its way through Arkansas, Nebraska, and Missouri, emergency systems were pushed to the breaking point. In Little Rock, the city's 911 dispatch center was overwhelmed within minutes. Operators fielded desperate calls, families trapped in vehicles under downed power lines, children huddled in flooded basements, and elderly residents unable to escape rising waters. Firefighters waded through waist-deep floodwater to rescue people stranded in low-lying neighborhoods, while police blocked off intersections where live wires sparked on the pavement. In Omaha, a dramatic rescue unfolded when neighbors formed a human chain across a rushing street to pull a mother and her 2 children to safety. One witness recalled hearing her whisper, "Please God," as she clutched her youngest. Across town hospital, staff rushed patients to interior hallways when hail shattered dozens of windows. Kansas City saw similar chaos. A youth football game ended in panic when hail the size of golf balls forced players and families to sprint for shelter. In St. Louis, paramedics carried an elderly couple from their home after a massive oak tree split their roof in 2. Through the fear stories of courage and compassion shined brightest. Volunteers opened schools and churches as emergency shelters, handing out bottled water blankets and hot meals. Amid shattered glass and flooded streets, communities proved that even in nature's worst moments, Human resilience is the strongest defense.
Yeah, but I missed the video.
Meteorologists confirm that what struck Arkansas, Nebraska, and Missouri on September 16, 2025, wasn't just another summer storm. It was the product of a perfect storm setup, the kind of atmospheric collision that scientists have been warning about for years. A surge of hot, moisture-rich air from the Gulf of Mexico met a powerful cold front plunging south from Canada. This clash created explosive instability in the atmosphere. Add in a fast-moving jet stream overhead, and the stage was set for long-lived supercells, thunderstorms capable of producing giant hail-destructive winds and flash flooding all at once. Hailstones up to 2.5 inches across formed as powerful updrafts carried raindrops into sub-freezing layers of the sky again and again, layering them into ice missiles before gravity hurled them down. Winds topping 70 mph pushed rain horizontally, while the narrow streets and outdated drainage in many towns funneled water into dangerous torrents. Climatologists point to a troubling trend. As the atmosphere warms, it holds more moisture, fueling heavier downpours and larger hail. Storms like this, once considered rare, are now becoming more frequent and more damaging. September 16th wasn't just a storm. It was a preview of tomorrow's climate reality, where short, violent bursts of weather will test not just infrastructure, but entire communities' ability to adapt.
Okay, this is just Looney Tunes here. This is all hail.
I'm going into, oh wait, the lights are off because, okay, I'm going to take some video.
The scars left behind on September 16th, 2025 stretch far beyond shattered windows and dented cars. They live in the voices of families who watched their homes disappear underwater, in children who clutched their pets while hail smashed against rooftops, and in neighbors who carried one another through waist-deep currents. In Little Rock, families crowded into church basements turned into makeshift shelters. Volunteers handed out bottled water, warm meals, and blankets, while local pastors led prayers for those still missing. Across town, high school gyms filled with cots as exhausted parents tucked their children in, grateful simply to be alive. In Omaha, residents emerged from flooded homes to find their cars totaled and their streets buried under sheets of hail. Yet within hours, neighbors with chainsaws were clearing downed trees. Teenagers were distributing food, and local businesses opened their doors to provide free charging stations and hot coffee. And in Kansas City, a youth football coach gathered his team the day after the storm, not to practice, but to help clear debris in their community park. "This is how we fight back," he told them. Storms can tear apart buildings and flood streets, but they also reveal something deeper: the unyielding resilience of people. In the heartland of America, even in the face of nature's fury, community spirit remains the strongest shield of all.
Fire. Oh my gosh. Holy.
The financial toll from the September 16th storms is staggering. Early estimates place the economic damage in the hundreds of millions of dollars, making it one of the costliest late summer weather events in recent memory. In Austin and Omaha, auto repair shops are overwhelmed as thousands of vehicles were pummeled by baseball-sized hail. Insurance companies are processing a flood of claims for smashed windshields, dented car bodies, and collapsed roofs. Adjusters warn that the backlog could take months to clear. Across Kansas City and St. Louis, public infrastructure took a direct hit. More than 140 bridges and culverts across the 3 states require structural inspections. Power companies raced to restore electricity to over 100,000 homes and businesses, while crews worked non-stop to clear trees and debris from major highways. Local economies have been rattled. Small businesses already stretched thin lost inventory equipment and crucial operating days. Restaurants reported spoiled food after long power outages, while mom-and-pop shops saw entire storefronts destroyed by hail and flooding. But recovery is already underway. Construction crews from across the Midwest have mobilized for emergency repairs. Federal disaster aid has been requested, and both state and local leaders are promising fast-tracked rebuilding funds. For families and business owners, the road ahead is steep, but as history shows, Texans and Midwesterners alike know how to rebuild stronger than before. Meteorologists describe the September 16th storms as the result of a perfect collision of atmospheric forces. A hot, moisture-laden air mass surged north from the Gulf of Mexico, clashing with a cold front sweeping in from Canada. Overhead, powerful jet stream winds added vertical wind shear, allowing supercell thunderstorms to explode in strength and sustain themselves for hours. This setup produced not only giant hail up to 3 inches in diameter, but also hurricane-force wind gusts exceeding 77 km, and flash flooding that overwhelmed drainage systems in minutes. Radar confirmed hail cores lingering over populated areas, a sign of intense updrafts capable of holding and enlarging hailstones before they came crashing down. Climatologists warn that these so-called once-in-a-generation storms are becoming increasingly frequent. A warmer atmosphere holds more moisture, fueling heavier downpours. Rising global temperatures also increase instability in the atmosphere, setting the stage for stronger, longer-lived supercells. In Texas and across the Midwest, the combination of urban expansion, paved surfaces, and aging infrastructure makes communities even more vulnerable. Floodwaters that once drained into open fields now barrel through streets and neighborhoods, compounding the danger. The takeaway is sobering. While no single storm can be directly attributed to climate change, the backdrop of hotter temperatures and rising extremes makes events like this both more likely and more destructive.
Thank the Lord, maybe you're seeing these days.
The September 16th storms serve as a stark reminder that preparedness can mean the difference between survival and tragedy. Officials across Texas, Missouri, and Nebraska are calling for urgent upgrades to weather alert systems, flood gauges, and storm-resilient infrastructure. In Austin, leaders are pushing for expanded low-water crossing sensors and faster text alert systems. In Amarillo and across the Midwest, engineers are urging tougher building codes to withstand hail impacts and high winds. Public education is another critical piece. Emergency managers stress that residents must treat severe weather warnings as calls to action, not suggestions. Too many drivers still attempt to cross flooded roadways despite the well-known phrase, "Turn around, don't drown." Scientists also emphasize investment in climate adaptation strategies, from strengthening power grids to reinforcing drainage networks so that communities can endure the storms of tomorrow. Insurance companies and policymakers alike are rethinking how to fund and prioritize resilience before the next billion-dollar disaster strikes. For everyday Americans, the message is simple. Know your evacuation routes, have an emergency kit ready, and never underestimate the sky above you. These storms are no longer rare accidents. They are previews of a future where readiness is essential.
The drywall broke.
Oh my God!
that right there.
Oh my, Jacob Jones!
As of September 16, 2025, communities across Texas, Nebraska, and Missouri are still sweeping up shattered glass, repairing roofs, and grieving the lives lost. The scars left behind by giant hail, hurricane-force winds, and sudden flash floods will take months, if not years, to fully heal. But beyond the broken windows and flooded highways lies a larger truth. This is the new normal. Extreme storms are no longer rare, once-in-a-generation events. They are happening more often, striking harder, and costing more lives and dollars than ever before. The question is no longer if another storm like this will hit, but when, and will we be ready? Preparation isn't optional anymore. It's survival. Keep an emergency kit stocked. Learn your safest shelter options. Teach your kids what to do when the warnings come. And above all, take weather alerts seriously, because ignoring them could mean tragedy. If this report opened your eyes, hit the like button, share it with friends, and subscribe, so you never miss our next deep dive into extreme weather. Together, awareness isn't just power, it's protection.